United 1, Luton Town 0. United go 6th in the table. An important but a very narrow win for Manchester United today. More to come from that from me and the panel later in the show. Arsenal 3-1 winners over Burnley in a game where, look, Arsenal dominated from start to finish. Arsenal were by far the better team in this football match. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. They commanded every blade of grass. They were dominant. They forced a team that likes of attack to sit really low, to be compact. Burnley, not until they were losing did they try and open up and hurt Arsenal at all. And I still think the only element that Arsenal fans will look at from this game and be disappointed in is the fact they probably should have scored 2 or 3 more goals. But it was a comfortable win. And it was a win of champions. And the reason I say that is because they won like champions, because they were playing well, dominating, and it went to 1-1. And I can look at my team as an example that are nowhere near a title race. We get that kind of adversity in a game and we fall away. We've seen Tottenham in the last couple of games. They go through some adversity and they've fallen away, especially when you look at the Wolves match. Now, that could have repeated itself for Arsenal today, especially as we had Egal come on the football terrace earlier on today and laugh at Tottenham. I said to him at the time, I think he might have already gone when I said it, but don't risk it with them football gods, those pesky football gods. They also had to play 15 minutes, including injury time, that is, down to 10 men, and they demonstrated what a well-organized defensive team can do when you go down to 10 men. And I'm talking about Man United midweek against Copenhagen and Tottenham, of course, against Chelsea. You become compact. You become hard to break down. You don't take any risks. You ensure that the 2-goal lead you've got, you ensure that the 3 points you're about to win is done and dusted and gets over the line. The elements I think Arsenal fans will probably look at and be frustrated with, I've mentioned converting more chances. I actually thought they looked a better team when Fabio Vieira came onto the pitch for Kai Havertz, who is still, in my opinion, hurting Arsenal's flow. He's hurting the chemistry. He's hurting the kind of fluid nature of their football we saw so regularly last year. But of course, Fabio Vieira has now gone and got himself banned for 3 games. I've been very scathing of refereeing decisions of late, but Fabio Vieira deserved to be sent off in my personal and humble opinion today. The tackle was dangerous. It was late. It was reckless. And it was very, very high indeed. And he deserves to go. So he's let himself down. You could tell Arteta was annoyed with him. You see it on the cameras as he's walking off. But what he's also done is stopped himself now from maybe getting an opportunity to play more, because I do think Kai Havertz is a problem for this Arsenal team. Again, today, I was impressed with Martinelli and Saka, both on their respective sides, breaking the lines with dribbling, getting inside the box, being involved in either the goals themselves or the process of making them. And I think the opening goal for Arsenal, they were struggling to score. They were struggling to break down Burnley. Burnley were being very resolute, hard to beat. They weren't being a typical Vincent Kompany team. And it was a very brave goal, an excellent cushioned header by Saka to the back post. And I thought Trossard deserves so much credit for putting his body, putting his career almost on the line. You never know with those kind of clashes at a back post what happens to your head. If the goalkeeper knocks you one way, the post takes you another, you can get seriously hurt and seriously injured. And it gave Arsenal that lead, and it really was a springboard for them to go on to that next level. Burnley score against a run of play, deflected shot. Did they deserve it? Probably not, but that's football. And I think for me, watching Arsenal respond within minutes, going down the other end, William Saliba, not just, I think there's a debate now that has to stop. William Saliba is, he isn't one of the best young mid centre-backs in the world. He isn't. William Saliba is not one of the best young centre-backs in the world. He's one of the best centre-backs in the world. The debate has moved on, in my opinion. I don't think he's the best right now, but the guy is an absolute Rolls Royce, barely puts a foot wrong. He has recovery pace. And again, there's so much of Saliba that reminds me of young Sol Campbell's, young Rio Ferdinand's, young Jaap Stam's. Strong, powerful, good on the ball, recovery pace. Has absolutely everything about him. And he added that he's got a few goals to his game as well. And that goal was really key because one of the things I've called Arsenal fans out for this year, match-going fans, if you watch, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I believe in it. There's been a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervousness, a lot of tension at the Emirates Stadium, and you need to help your team by being more relaxed. The best teams in the world do that. Saliba scoring that quickly, giving them that lead, it made everybody relax again. The crowd relaxed, the players relaxed, they took over complete control again, and then Zinchenko puts in a third. It was a very good strike, by the way, because where the ball was positioned in the air, if you don't do a bicycle kick to volley it, it flies over the bar. So the way he distributed his weight so he could get over the ball to keep it downward, brilliant. Left-footed bicycle kick into the top corner, and that was all she wrote. And look, as a neutral watching, I did not feel at any moment or at any time were you going to succumb to going down to 10 men. You had Burnley absolutely tired up. They were doing very, very little. Yes, they just scored a deflected goal, and that was it. And the reason that I say that, I made a note of this when I was writing down my notes, which I do during games. I write down notes. And I just said, Arsenal winning like champions. And that is what I see from them today. I know there were a lot of people. We had Will Stewart on the show last night that looks at the underlying metrics and stats and thinks they're not going to get any better. You get people like Lee Gunner that despise stats, but look at the way Arsenal play, and he thinks, I don't think Arsenal are going to get any better. I still think there is a level for this team to go up this season. Some of that will happen when they get players back from injury, which I'll touch on in a moment. But I also think that's going to happen as certain players find form again. I don't think Martinelli and Saka are anywhere near their optimum best, as an example. And once they do, I think they're going to be all right. I really do think they're going to be all right. They're in this title challenge, there's no doubt. But winning games like today is key. When you know there's a lot of pressure, Spurs have just dropped points. There's a probability that City drop points tomorrow. Away to Chelsea, it's not a foregone conclusion. You have to win. And when it goes to 1-1, you have to dig deep. You have to show confidence. You have to have faith in what you're doing as a team. And then somebody, in this case, you had both two players do it, in Zinchenko and Saliba, has to step up, put the ball into the back of the net and say, I am. And they did that today impeccably well. And also what I think they need credit for is a lot of us have done this season, including me with Man United. Spurs fans are doing it today. Yeah, but we had injuries, so we couldn't perform. Well, missing from the Arsenal team today was Ben White. Missing from the Arsenal team today is Thomas Partey, Gabriel Jesus, and of course missing is Odegaard. I forgot his name for a second. And that's four of them. If everybody's fit, that's four of their starting outfield players, which is almost 40% of their starting outfield team is missing. And that's a lot. And they still perform to this standard. And this is where I think if I was going to send a message to Arsenal fans, it would be hold them to that standard, but don't do it in a way where you're anxious all the time. You've got to find that happy medium. I always remember a coach of mine saying to me in life, don't be careless when you're on the mats, but don't be too careful either. And I feel like that same mindset needs to be in place here. Have high standards. Push your team to not have silly excuses like an injury or two as to why you can't beat a Burnley, why you can't beat a Wolves, why you can't beat Copenhagen. But at the same time, don't allow that level and that standard to make you angry and make you anxious and make you frustrated all the time, because that creates a negative energy which saps energy, which saps the ability for teams to perform. You've got to get the balance right between standards and the pressure you put on your team and supporting them and encouraging them with the right type of language and behavior. And I get that wrong a lot, especially when it's my own team. So I get it, Arsenal fans, you're emotive. I'm not emotional about Arsenal in any capacity. So it's very easy. You know, you watch Super Nanny and she goes into a house and they're not her children. She doesn't feel embarrassed by how they're behaving, doesn't make her look a particular way because she has no emotional connection. It's a lot easier to put the kid on a naughty step. It's a lot easier to say, no, you're not eating that bacon for the third time today. It's a lot easier to do that than when they're your children and you're being judged. And I think that I understand that logic, and I understand that in football it works the same. But I think this is an impeccable win today from Arsenal Football Club. There's no doubt about it. Some will say, it's only Burnley. Yeah, I mean, that's, again, it's beta banter. If you're a man and you're doing it's only Burnley, you're a beta. Your balls ain't dropped. There's something wrong with you. There's something missing. Zero testosterone. Get to the doctors. Get a little injection. Beep, beep. Sort yourself out. It's terrible banter. Like, you do that in front of girls or ladies, depending on your age, they're walking away. Or whoever it is, whatever your preference is, they're going, no. They're going, no, thank you. They're looking the other way. Trust me, I know. So it was a very good win from Arsenal today. There's no doubt about it. See Bucks here goes, what the F? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You get it, my friend. A very, very good win for them indeed. Look, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on it, people. Leave it in the comment section below. Now, Manchester United. Look, I just said don't be overly emotional. Don't want too much pressure. I need to be objective. Today's performance was okay. But I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed because I'm being subjective. I'm happy with the performance. We dominated the ball. There was a header in the first half, which Onana saved. There was a few hairy moments when the ball was getting knocked into the box where I'm nervous. But in reality, I bet if rivals were watching Man United, they never felt like Luton were going to score. Okay. So we did okay today. We did okay today. There's still some players I want to see improve. I was impressed with Mount when he came on. I was impressed with Anthony, actually, when he came on. They both looked really sharp. Until he got injured, Højlund did everything but score again. I really like what he did. Defensively, we look sound. I was happy. Where I was subjectively annoyed at Manchester United today, though, is that I haven't been entertained watching a Man United game for about 6 months. And for a sport that I love and a team that I adore with every ounce of my being, to not be entertained, to not walk away rubbing my hands together after a single Premier League or Champions League match for over 6 months, narrowly getting by, feeling nervous until the final whistle. I'd love to have gone 2-3-0 up and been able to watch the last 20 minutes and relax. That's probably why I'm annoyed. If we'd had lots of good performances this year and did today, I wouldn't be worried, I think. It was okay today. Everybody knows my stance on the direction I think the club is going in. I'm still not convinced the players are bought into this idea of Ten Hag's football. There's still moments where we're a bit too slow, we're a bit too passive, there isn't enough movement. But the biggest takeaway I have from today's game, as to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over again, is no confidence. There was a chance for Alejandro Garnacho in the first half where the hold-up play from Højlund was out of this world. And because his hold-up play was so good, it sucked all these, it was like light, moths to the light, and they were sucked in and he turned away from all of them. And he puts his ball into Garnacho, and all you do is you open up your body, Garnacho, you hit it first time with the right foot and you score. Garnacho last season, maybe earlier on this campaign, does it. No confidence, takes the first touch, which wasn't great, and then gets tackled. Second half, United are 1-0 up. Anthony has the ball. He looks like he might shoot. And I'm glad he dummied it because it made people, sort of the Luton players, get in positions to block because he always shoots. Played a lovely through ball to Rashford. Again, the same thing. He has to just open up his body first time, put that in the back of the net. That was still the deal. But he took a touch and then didn't score. And I'm seeing that from so many Man United players, so many attackers in and around that final third. The lack of confidence, the lack of responsibility that they are taking to try and score is becoming a major, major problem. So yes, at times the structure can let us down, that the passing and the movement can be an issue, but you're just seeing an attacking unit who are so devoid of confidence right now. It's unbelievable. And that's also, I mentioned that because that's probably where my frustration lies. It isn't so much with everything we did today per se. It's the only way we're going to get them past this confidence issue they have is by winning games like today, 3-4, 5-0, and they're all getting involved on the score sheet. And you've got to do that a few times. And I think there's been a number of games recently where we should be putting 3 or 4 goals past teams and we're not. And because we're not doing that, I don't feel like we're building the confidence, because players are going through these games nervous until the final whistle. And I'm not sure if that builds confidence at the end of it, because they're not feeling comfortable in the games. And they need to, there's such thing called muscle memory. There's also an element of that happens to your mindset as well when you go through certain periods of games. We're trying to score right at the end when what we should have been doing is running it into the corners. And that's because the team are desperate to get goals because they want their own confidence to grow and they want to ensure they're not feeling nervous until the final whistle. So that area has got to be worked on, because as of right now, it doesn't look like Ten Hag is going anywhere. So that is what he's got to do. He's got to get those boys confident, and maybe the international break will help some of them. Rashford away with England, not too sure about Højlund, he could be injured, but look, I'm not angry with winning. I never am. I always want to win. I wasn't blown away by the performance, but overall, someone come backstage. I didn't recognize him, didn't know who it was for a second there. It's KJ out there doing the recruiting. That's the thing. So from my point of view, I'm just meh with it. It's just, I feel very beige about it, if that makes sense. And I don't like feeling that way. However, what I will say as a positive note, right, and it might change by the end of this weekend, and we're looking at the screen now, for as terrible and as shocking and as horrendous as Manchester United have been, with 9 defeats in our opening 18 games across all competitions and 5 defeats in the Premier League. Like, City only have 2 more wins than us. Arsenal and Tottenham only have 1 more win than us. We have the same amount of wins now as Aston Villa and Liverpool. It shows you that there are quality players in this team. And if the confidence can get back, we're not going to challenge for the title this year. But this team could still achieve something in terms of a base for next year, getting into the Champions League again, getting rid of more dead wood and improving. So to be in 6th place on 21 points after the way we've started, there's an element of me that feels happy considering what every rival has said about our team. To be in and around everybody still, I don't know whether that's a compliment to us or you've inadvertently slagged your own club off. I don't know. It depends which way. Like, we're only 3 points behind Liverpool, and them man are raving about how good they are. And that's not a dig. So, look, I like that we've got high standards, and that element, I can't actually believe we're 6th right now. Look, and we've played 12 games. There's 3 teams above us still to play. You know, you've got Chelsea, Brentford, Brighton, and Newcastle all behind us that are still to play. But some of them are going to drop points. In fact, are Newcastle playing Brighton today? Who are Newcastle playing? I don't even know. I haven't even looked. But look, we'll see. Look, I'm going to bring the panel out now to have their say on the show. Actually, no, I'm going to do a few super chats, then bring the panel out. Sorry. This here says Manchester United are back with a bang, baby. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, Chief. What I'm hoping does bang tonight is my guy Pereira in the UFC becomes a 2-weight world champion tonight. I hope. I'll be getting up early to watch my guy do that. I always back the kickboxers because it's where I'm from. That world. Arteta shit down to 10 men and no high line. Yeah, funny, isn't it? Neutral, very funny. You hide it very poorly. You don't think I'm neutral? You're a Liverpool fan. So the last 2 games that where you've lost, but VAR has ruined it for you, I've backed you. How's that not being neutral? My arch enemies I've backed because I think it's important to. But anyway, Mr. Religion, thank you. Arteta finally starting Trossard. He's an assassin. He should have been doing that a while ago. I agree. He did great today. Terry, actually, we have 6 starters out. Who else is out? Who do I miss? Well, yeah, Timber, I suppose you could throw into that mix as well. And there must be somebody else I'm missing, but there we go. I can't believe all the 56 City fans are here today. 1 shot on target versus Toon, but you gas up, Burnley wins. Well, but this is the thing. The way at Newcastle's a very different game to playing at home to Burnley, and I'm praising the elements of the performance I think need to be praised. I haven't said there isn't room for improvement, my friend. And like I said in the Newcastle game, I criticized their lack of potency in the attack. So, yeah, I did what you're saying. I criticized them in that game, and I'm praising them for today. Is that not what you do when people play well and or play bad? Or do we, when a team plays bad, do we then hold that against them for, is it 3 games, 5 games, 10 games until you can no longer be angry at them? Even though why would I be angry at Arsenal when I don't support them? Again, that makes no sense to me, IFL, because we're reviewing today's game. Generally speaking, we might get into some other things. But look, viewers, hit like buttons. Make sure you're subscribing. Turn on the bell notification as well. It's very, very important. I want to thank everybody as well that watched out my new show that I did with KJ and Don on Rumble today called The Squad. It's a brand new show. There's another podcast coming on that very, very soon. I can't reveal what, but trust me, it's going to blow your minds when that comes out. Trust me. So make sure you're following that. It's called The Squad. And it's on Rumble. For our first show as well, by the way, we've almost no followers. To get 57,000 views is absolutely mind-blowing. So a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Terry, it's a fake 6th place. Yeah, it's fake. Wherever Man United finish, it's always fake. Wherever Man United are, whatever we do, it ain't real. Do you know what I mean? We're a bloody mirage, mate. We're a mirage. We've never been real. You might as well take the league titles. 20 league titles are fake. They're all fake. That's what it is. Do you mean what's Rumble? Where you man been? You got to get on that platform. It's funny. There's some weirdos up there as well, by the way. But then some of you man are strange. Right, time for the panel now, people. We've got Canadian Cam. We've got United Han. We've got God of Souls, KJ. We've got my brother Egal, and we've got Tony Claude Gunner. Is that? I recognize the account. That's what the name comes up as. How you all doing? You all good?
What's up? How you doing?
Good.
Hey,
I'm
Terry,
going to go.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Yeah, good. Egal, big win for you today. I was a little nervous for you when you came for Tottenham when they lost today, but your boys got the job done. A big win at 3-1.
We're starting to click into gear. This is what we need to do. When we play the smaller teams, we need to go and show them what we're made of. Second half, what happened was we basically we conceded a silly goal and immediately responded back and showed that we are just better class than Burnley. And I don't think that's disrespectful. That's just we are on a different level at this moment in time, and we need to continue to show that when we play smaller teams at home. It's unfortunate we didn't get a clean sheet, but I just want to shout out some performances. First of all, everyone's going to say, oh, Kai Havertz. I actually put my neck on the line and said Kai Havertz is going to score. Silly of me because he got subbed off at halftime, but I don't want to make it all about Kai Havertz. Trossard, big up to him, scored Arsenal's 1,000th goal, and he's a warrior. The guy literally put his body on the line to score that goal. Big up to him. Bukayo Saka and him, their link up has been amazing. Zinchenko bossed the game from minute 1 to the end, and I knew this was going to happen because Burnley, they're going to give him a lot of space in the midfield, and he loves that space, and he capitalized on that space in the midfield, and he dominated the game. And he also scored a scissor kick goal, so big up to him for that. And of course, William Saliba, let's just call him William Rolls-Royce Saliba at this point. The guy is just absolutely outstanding. He's in the right places defensively every single time. And I just feel like you should give that signature slide tackle to him because his timing is impeccable. The way that he does it, effortless. You just know he's going to get the ball and never foul the player. So yeah, honestly, Terry, is business as usual. I'm not going to get gassed over a win against Burnley. I'm just happy we're ahead of Tottenham. And I was laughing at their faces earlier because that was the only opportunity I was going to get to laugh at their face.
No, listen, rivals are free to come on any stream, especially if you're in the group chats and those links are shared. It's open. Gunnar Souls,
can I say one more thing about United quickly?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
It is embarrassing if United catch up to Tottenham or any of our clubs at this moment in time because everyone was burying them a couple of weeks ago. So big up to you guys for winning. I thought you guys were going to win by a more scoreline, but hey, that's all I got to say, Terry. I agree with you fully on that point.
No, but listen, I agree. Look, if Man United, with the way we've been, especially Spurs fans,
besides Chelsea,
especially Spurs fans who 3 weeks ago I don't remember which Spurs fan it was, called us a finished has-been tin pot club. If we finish in front of them, they're just done. They're done out here. Do you know what I mean? You can't say we're awful. It can't be our worst start to a league campaign since we got relegated and we end up in front of you, because that just shows you the level of my club versus all of yours. Gunnar Solzo, do you echo what Egal said about Arsenal in terms of the quality you demonstrated today? Are you happy with the win?
No, I'm happy with the win. We needed to bounce back, especially after the Newcastle defeat, and we just needed to stamp our authority back in the league and maybe put some pressure on Man City to go and do their job tomorrow. So I think we can't be mad at what we did. I mean, we needed to break them down. They played a very compact in the middle where we kind of dominate. So Kompany's game plan was exactly what he needed to do, which was neutralize our middle threat, and we needed to start going out wide. The only problem I have is how long it took us to kind of realize where the threats can come from and maybe cross the ball a lot quicker. We seem to be too pragmatic sometimes and too slow in decision makings in the final third. But other than that, I think we definitely miss Martin Odegaard, regardless of how he started this season. He's not been his scintillating best, but you can see in games like this where he would have made those first-time passes. He would have made that killer pass into the final third that could have got us potentially more goals in this game and actually opened them up more. But I think that's where Arteta needs to tweak. And when you spoke about, Lee Gunnar and other people saying about there's no gears to go up, I still think there is, because it's not been as fluid as I've seen them play. Last season, we were a lot more quicker. We were smooth with the ball, one-touch passes. This game, we've not really seen that. Or this season, we haven't seen that. So there's definitely levels to go up. There's definitely more we've seen from this team, regardless of injuries. We've spoken about it. We've got 4 definite starters and 2 potential starters that have been out. So we've got 6 injuries, just like many teams have been crying about, and we still get the job done. And that's the thing that I can be proud of. As much as we slag the squad off and go anything beyond the 11 may not be and is questionable, we're still getting the job done. A lot of people are going to come at certain players today in terms of how they performed, especially Kai Havertz, but I think it's going to be one of those that needs time to actually develop and come into his confidence. You can see it. He's getting frustrated with himself and he is picking up those mistakes and he isn't happy with his performances, which is the signs I want to see. Because if he sat there, smiling and being happy with the way he's playing, and I think that substitution coming so early is going to be that wake-up call that he needs to step up and he needs to do something more to keep his place. Because Arteta doesn't make early substitutions for no reason, and it's usually a message to the player: you either step up and buckle up, or you're out. And that's, I hope Havertz gets the message, because he has been backed in the media. So, I mean, a lot of people can get onto him, but it's been what? He's only coming to the club for a few months. I give every player a season before I judge them fully and go whether they're good enough or whether they're bad enough. Because a lot of people wrote off Fabio Vieira last season. Now they want him to start. So make your minds up. You can't just keep flip-flopping and giving some players a season, some players no season. So that's just all I've got to say. I'm proud of the win. International break. It'll give players about 2 weeks to rest up and get ready. It's good to see Bukayo Saka not injured and actually back to somewhat to his best as well, taking players on, making opportunities happen, getting an assist, doing what he does best, because this season he's been shocking. So I'm proud to see the players are slowly coming back, but it's going to give the club a headache because Trossard playing was actually better, and he kind of molds into that Jesus role a lot better. And we want to go for an Ivan Toney. Is that going to hamper the way we play, or is that actually going to improve us? And I'm quite interested to see if we do get a Toney, does that improve us or does that regress us when we play Lakanedi and Ketia? It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
It's definitely going to improve us. Come on, man. If we get a finisher like Ivan Toney, that means we have somebody who can finish off the chances that we create. And at this moment in time, we create so many chances in these games. We just are not clinical.
No, but when Eddie Nketiah plays, someone who's more of a focal point, we don't create those chances. Whereas if Trossard comes in and we look a lot more smoother, we look more fluid. That's what I'm trying to say.
Realize, Ivan Toney was also one of Brentford's best creators. Also, he wasn't just a guy who just scored goals. So my point is, if we bring in a striker of that caliber that can also create, we could see Harry Kane type numbers from Ivan Toney potentially at Arsenal.
Harry Kane numbers in what, in goals or
in goals and
But again, that will come with a very, very big caveat, my brother. I don't really think that we should just say that Ivan Toney would just come into this team and we produce this sort of numbers, like this Kane numbers you're talking about, Egal. I don't think we should be talking about that right now. I think he has to come into the team, merge with this team, understand the team quite well, because we all know that Mikel Arteta plays in a very, very different style with his strikers. He demands more from his strikers. He demands them to link up play. He demands them to kind of look for ways to bring in other attacking talents and, bring them into play. So it might be a very chaotic one for Ivan Toney if he does come by January, in which I highly doubt it, because I'm also hearing news of Vlahovic also in the offing trying to come into the
I'm sick and tired of that
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what did you make of it today, Tony? Are you happy with the performance, or do you feel? Where do you sort of stand on this? This is Arsenal at their optimum best. You still think there's levels for this team to go up this season?
Definitely. We have to improve. See, of course, Egal has already said it. Souls has already said it. We haven't played at our optimal best this season. We haven't even scratched gear one. Last season, we're beating teams. We're mauling these teams for fun. But right now, the machine isn't carefully oiled. I think we're having an overinflated kind of importance with the business we've done in the summer. I don't think we did particularly great business in the summer. Come on, we brought Kai Havertz for about £65 million, and this is what we get this season with Kai Havertz. He had two opportunities today. One was just to slot the ball into the net with his head, which is in his wheelhouse. When he was at Chelsea, at least he scored part of his 7 goals that he did accumulate for Chelsea last season. Some of them were, with his head. I'm sorry, today, not. It wasn't just happening for him. And those were 2 goal-scoring opportunities. How many more opportunities will Kai Havertz, a £65 million pounder, waste in this team? How many more patient Arsenal fans will have to wait for this guy to put up or shut up and justify the £65 million that we spent on him? And see, the wake-up call Souls talked about, I think it was very, very underrated in the charts. Yeah, see, Mikel Arteta doesn't make these changes quickly for for no reason. He does it actually for a reason. Yeah, if he comes up it's 68 minutes and it's hacking you out of the game, it's for a big reason, and the big reason there is that, hey, I didn't like how you played today. I think Fabio Vieira will come on and do something big and more important that you've done. And when Fabio Vieira came in, if we're particularly very, very fair, he was running the channels. He was trying to at least put in a decent effort, a decent shift. You could see him running about, trying to make calculated tackles, trying to get the ball back, trying to be in and about the conversation in the 18-yard box. And that's what Kai Havertz, as a player, hasn't been able to achieve this season. Arsenal needed to bounce back from what happened, the disaster at St. James Park just a week ago. And definitely this performance might not be up there, but yes, we did get those 3 goals. It was very, very important to see Trossard start again in that number 9 position. You can see what he's all about. It's that kind of striker that would create lots of chaos because of his movement. When you have particularly movement in your wheelhouse, when you particularly are very fast also, mostly as a player that comes from the wing and you're now playing as a number 9, which is an experience he has also gotten from Brighton, playing as a number 9 to playing behind the striker too. It's in his wheelhouse, he can do that.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important that we saw that, and he got a goal.
I
Very,
hear
very
you on that.
amazing goal, putting his body on the line.
Absolutely. Egal, I want to ask you a question. I mean, Vieira ended up being sent off today. Any complaints about the red card, or do you think it's justified?
Terry, I've seen the replay. The guy, he was late. He caught his foot, and he could have really seriously hurt him. So at this point, we can't complain about that. That is strictly a red, and he's just lucky that it's not violent conduct, and they deemed it as a mistake. So hopefully, he doesn't get a 3-game match ban, and it's just a 1-game match ban.
I think all straight reds are 3-game bans, other than denying goal scoring opportunities. It's still it's reckless and dangerous. Still 3 games. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, do you agree with that, Souls? Do you concur that red card, no complaints?
No, I don't think I've got any complaints about the referee today. It was a red by the letter of the laws, and it was a stupid challenge. It was late. That could have gone horribly wrong for the player. I understand why some people think it can be harsh because there was no contact made, but they have always said it's about the intent and what that tackle could do. So if that law is still in place, then there's no complaints. I don't think.
Yeah. I suppose the only.
What about one thing? The push. Saka's goal got disallowed. Saka had a cross across the box where he won the header and he put one hand on the back of the player. So just going back to last week.
Yeah. And that's where you can, but that's the irony. It is a foul. So what I don't want to see is pushes in the back not given, personally, as a football fan, because they're meant to be fouls, right? What I'd say about Vieira should have gone today, but the fact that Udogie didn't for a 2-footed tackle just because he didn't make full contact is crazy, because again, if he lands on that guy's ankle, it's good night Vienna. That ankle is snapping like a rotten carrot. So no, I don't think there's any complaints about it, but I wanted to ask and see if any of you thought that there was. We are going to come back to Arsenal. We're going to come back to some of your super chats in a minute. KJ, an important win for Man United tonight before the international break. Not the greatest of performances. What did you make of it, mate?
We're halfway to our target of 40 points to make sure we don't get relegated. So that is good. You know what I'm saying? I think we'll be safe for the season. The performance overall, it started off well. I was very happy with the start. We looked like we was on it, and then Rasmus's chance got saved, and then the same old United kicks in, chance after chance after chance. They're not taking them. The confidence is all over the place, and honestly, I'm watching it, and I'm just like, this is from the attacking point of view, it's pathetic that these players, in my opinion, can't strike a ball clean enough to get past the goalkeeper. Garnacho and Rashford, those two are golden opportunities that any striker in the world would want to have, and they squandered them both. And it's like, it doesn't matter what combination we have, because we have arguments as Man United fans of this player should start, that player should start. No attacker by Rasmus right now is providing anything of substance. There's not. And at this point, may as well put all our defenders and midfielders on, because those are the guys scoring goals. Those are the guys scoring goals. Our attackers aren't scoring. Last season, we had at least one attacker scoring. Now we have an attacker who's playing well, but can't score in the league, but he can do it in the Champions League. And honestly, with these performances, I don't know how it changes. Because Luton at home is normally the game where you're like, all right, everybody eats. You know what I'm saying? Everybody eats session. Everyone gets their few goals. Everyone gets their confidence up, and you go into the international break feeling good. As a United fan, I don't feel good. I don't know when this is going to change. I don't know if Sir Jim will bring anything to the club, because we know the Glazers are the Glazers. So this win, what much does it do for my confidence as a fan? It doesn't really do much personally, but
do you know what's really crazy about those missed chances? Is Rashford one will count as a chance because he ended up getting a shot off. But we talked to Will last night about stats, and this is where stats are very important in football. Football clubs use them, managers use them. But Garnacho's opportunity does not count as a chance created because no shot happened. But we all know watching the game, that was I don't know what you would put, that doesn't feed into your XG. It feeds into nothing. And there was other times tonight as well where good balls were put into the box and players aren't making the right runs. That shows a 0 XG. But we as football fans see it, and you go, if that player makes that run, he's there, it's a tap-in. And there's still so much of that. Hannah, from your point of view, do you agree with KJ around this lack of confidence from our attackers is really stopping us from blowing some teams away in terms of our overall performances?
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, KJ said, even if one attacker last season was scoring, he was scoring a lot, and it makes such a stark difference. And I literally tweeted before, all of our goals are coming from defenders and midfielders, and it is worrying because you look at Højlund and, like you say, whether he's getting fed or not, he's trying and he's proven to score goals, and it's hard to watch. And I don't see anything really changing at the moment because we're just playing the same every single game. Like, we have to, say Luton were good today. Like, they played very tight, they were compact, but we should really be scoring more goals. Our goal difference is really embarrassing. Our points are there, like you're saying, a win is a win. And we have to take that as that's great. But it's just, where are our goals going to come from? Are we just going to keep getting these 1-0 wins? It's not really good enough. I miss the days where we used to put 4 or 5 past the team and we were comfortable within 20 minutes, like we were on Wednesday, but then obviously
yeah.
Wednesday's performance was great, and the 20 minutes.
Don't you feel like that's the issue though? When we have had some games where we've started well, something's gone wrong in the game and it's fallen away, and then you have games like today where you think, a home against Luton, score early, bang 4 or 5 in and start building the confidence again. We just never seem to, and some of it's our own fault and sometimes it's been decisions that go against us, but we can never really seem to get ahead of steam.
Yeah, no, that's it. There's a lot of individual confidence issues. Like Rashford, half those chances today, if not all of them, he was burying last season. It's you wouldn't think it was literally 6 months ago. It feels like a lifetime ago that he had this insane confidence, and it's just not there. And like you say though, Terry, Twitter, social media, everywhere that's negative, it does seep down. And he spoke out, didn't he, earlier in the week and said he's spreading lies. So they do see what people say, and it does get to them, definitely. It's not just United players, I think all football players, but it's hard. It's hard to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is. In terms of any standout performance today in the Man United team for you that you were impressed with?
But Højlund was good again. It's just not putting him away, but his pace, his link-up play, it's really, he's kind of our diamond in the rough at the moment. And again, another good performance. I thought Maguire was good again today. He's looking solid. So it's interesting at the moment, some of our players that, aren't the favourites. I even tweeted, I was a bit embarrassed because I even tweeted, I don't want to see Lindelof today. And then he's our goal scorer. At the moment, it's all the unlikely people, which is nice in a way, but we just need the entire team. It's like they've not gelled this season, and it's, like I say, it's kind of stressful.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Cam as well. I mean, do you concur with what Han and KJ are saying, or you?
No. Let's go, Cam. Let's go.
I'm back. So it's been a while since I've been around.
Yeah, and he turns up when we win.
Everybody, I missed you guys. I took a little break, and it's important to do that in some moments because you're able to wash away all the. I think I'm looking at the game in isolation because I'm not looking at all the past bullshit the last few weeks that happened. We were fine today. We were pretty good today, if we're going to be honest. If you just look at today, honestly, there's moments I'll say, yes, we are static in some passages of play. Like where there's times where like you see Rashford sitting on the ball and nobody's moving, and you're just like, can somebody do something? But outside of that, I've been watching a lot of people come at Rashford, and it's like he created 4 chances, and I remember them all. The first one with Hoyland, we say should have buried. No, it was a really good save.
No, that was an
Like,
excellent save.
It was an unbelievable save. Like there's nothing you could do about it. On target, perfect cross, boom, first one. The next one, almost an own goal. Again, Rashford created that. The third one turned into a goal, right? Like Rashford and then his own shot. So Rashford wasn't terrible today. He just doesn't have confidence. So I agree with everybody saying that part. His confidence is down, and there's a lot of chemistry issues with the team. But he wasn't terrible today. Like he did what he's supposed to do. People keep talking about him last year. He was playing striker last year. Obviously, he's going to score a lot more goals as a striker. I still think he should be starting at left wing and not ever playing on the right. I don't like him on the right, but if we got to put Garnacho in there because we've got terrible right wingers that we can't actually play, it is what it is, right? I think Bruno was our best player today. I think Bruno was great in all phases. Honestly, he won the ball back a bunch. He created a ton. I thought Bruno was great. Also, one more thing Rashford did, that overlap with Reguilon, when Reguilon crossed it in, and then we also should have scored from that. That was Rashford too. So there was a lot of things he did well that I was marking down because I knew people were going to come for him because he didn't score. So I'm like, all right, what has Rashford done today? That's what I wanted to focus on, if I'm being honest. I think it's easy to get lost in how bad we've been and not sometimes watch what's going on. Yes, a 1-0 victory against Luton does suck, but we just need to win games right now. That's what we need to do. We have no chemistry, and the hope is at some point after this year, I don't think Erik ten Hag is going anywhere, and I don't think he should. We always talk about the negative stats, but he is the second fastest manager to 30 wins in United's history, right? So he's not it's not all doom and gloom. It is bad. Sorry, that's my washing machine. I apologize. It's not all doom and gloom. Because when you were just talking about it, Terry, in your intro, like we are only 3 points behind Liverpool. Like we're not. It's like people are talking about us like we're Chelsea right now, and we're in the abyss.
I get that. So go on, KJ. Go on.
Yeah, but you said like right now we just need to win, right? Like we just need wins. But how long can we be in that mode for? Because it feels like we've been in that mode since the Carabao Cup. It's every game doesn't matter how we do. We just need to win. Just need to win. Just to win. At some point, it's not about just about winning, but it's about okay, we have a base for performance that we can build on.
So to be honest, man, and like every team deals with it, but we just got destroyed by injuries, right? We did. We've got to be honest. We got absolutely annihilated by injuries, and something to be said about. I'm holding out hope about you bring in a Sir Jim and he maybe changes the structure. Like it all goes back to the Glazers, right? So all we can hope for as United fans until something changes within our structure is that we win. And that we stay in and about the conversations of being a team in Europe that you may want to come play for. Because if we don't do that until Sir Jim does something where we start seeing changes, because questions do have to be asked about Erik ten Hag's talent ID when you think about Antony's and you think about the players he's brought in, the Mounts and such, they're not really doing much. So you're hoping that, we can steady the ship and stay around and keep winning and be decent until things change structure-wise. That's how I look at it. Like, I don't think anything's going to change as long as our structure is the same. That's just where my head is at. So I look at it realistically, that I'm happy to take the wins where we get them. And I do hope at some point our structure changes and we figure it out.
I get that. And I'm here for that too, because obviously we need change. And I've never been one that's anti-Jim from the get-go, because he could have won and he has won now and he's trying to do something. So whatever. But on the pitch, even though Luton lost, I can probably sit here and say that was probably the easiest game they've had all season in terms of when they're on the ball, making things happen, going through our midfield and going up the pitch in 3 or 4 passes. It's just too easy. And these are the base things I'm looking at. So you got the attackers not performing well. You've got the midfield getting passed through very easily. And then in the defense is doing well. Like Onana's picked up form, Maguire's picked up form. People are performing well in stints in the defense. But as an overall team, it's like we need it to kick in.
Did you ever think he was going to score, though, other than the one opportunity, that one shot? Did you ever feel like they were going to score today?
No.
It's not about, okay, so it's a complicated one, because it's not about feeling they will score like 100%, but it's about the shakiness that we have as a team.
Yeah, and this is where I agree with Cam. I get where you're coming from, Cam. You're not wrong about everything. Of course you're not. Like, no one's generally, people aren't 100% wrong about anything when it comes to football. But we need to start making people scared to come to Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And when we're narrowly winning games, that isn't going to happen. There is no fear factor. We need to start hurting teams. One of my biggest concerns with Ten Hag is that Mount's starting on the bench, Amrabat's on the bench. Mainu's come back from injury. The reason I mention him is because he's a player that he said he's going to feature a lot this year. Hasn't featured since he returned. Anthony, I know he's out of form, but he's on the bench. Varane, someone that last year used a lot, he's on the bench. There's whether it's he's fallen out with players or he's bought people and he hasn't been able to get the best out of them. That's what concerns me. We're starting games at the minute with players he was trying to sell in the summer. And you look at that, our overall performances, that's where my concerns are. And look, I hope that Sir Jim comes in and it all works. I hope that we get rid of everybody at the club that's pulling in an opposite direction to what Ten Hag wants. I hope we make Ten Hag's ideal philosophy, the club's philosophy, and we play it to its optimum level when it works. I do not want us to fail. The problem that I've got is I feel like they're going to come in and they will clear everybody out, other than the players. And it's because it's easier to start afresh that way and draw a line and say never again. It just because they're talking about all the John Myrtles and the Richard Arnolds, the whole recruitment team. I can just imagine them getting rid of Ten Hag's team and it's basically saying to the players, but that's it now. There's no more throwing managers on the buses, because it's easier to do that and fix that problem in that way when you're a new owner than it is to keep the manager, keep the coaching staff, keep this person, keep all these players, and slowly start buying new individuals, because you're still going to have that rot on those problems and those bad relationships. So you're starting off with a problem. But look, I get where you're coming from. We have had injury problems. We saw what's happened. We're not as good as Arsenal. We're not as good as Man City right now, and we know that. But we've seen what happened today with Spurs. Their first game with 2 or 3 of their main players out, and they should have lost 3-4, 5-0 again. Well, they deserve their goals, to be fair. They should have lost 3-1, 4-1, 5-1 today. We've seen what happens with City when they lose Rodri. They lose 3. They lose. Is it 3 domestic games on the bounce or something along those lines? Like that.
Yeah, about 3 domestic games they lost.
That's one player. So we know that plays a part as well. But I don't think it's as simple as I don't believe, Cam, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, Hannah. I just don't believe that once that injuries are back, we're going to look.
Well, real quick, Tel.
Terry.
Just one sec. Real quick, Tel. You said we need to bring the fear factor, and I agree. But we were 2 world-class saves away from a 3-0 today. Like those 2 saves, the McTominay header and the Rasmus Højlund save, those were those saves for me, and it only happened. It feels like it only happens to us. It probably happens in other games. I don't watch enough of all the other games, but those 2 saves for me, I'm like.
But that's the thing. But the Cam, I know we're gonna go to Hannah in a sec. But like, no one's got issues with world-class saves. I'm not complaining about the world-class saves because you got to give the opposition players respect for them doing their jobs correctly, which the goalkeeper did. It's the fact that on top of those 2 world-class players, we had 2 clear opportunities to score, and we fumble it in the most united ways possible, and it's like that can't happen. Two world-class saves can happen, but 2 big chances missed against Luton Town at home, for me, it can't happen.
Liverpool just lost to him.
No, I know they did. So I'll come to you in a second, Tony. Sorry, what's your take on what we're saying, Han?
Yeah, I agree with KJ. It's not sustainable. Like, these should be the games, kind of like what you said, Terry, where, we can finally get into positive goal difference after this game. Like, that should be the kind of vibes. But it's, again, Luton played okay, but we're at home. We've got no excuse. We've got some great players, and it's just frustrating to watch us be so wasteful. Like, again, like to quote KJ, everything's just so united. Like, you watch it and you're like, when they added those extra 8 minutes on, like, I was having like palpitations. Honestly, I was like, why am I nervous that we're going to bottle this? We're
Oh,
going
I
to.
said the same thing to my dad. I was like,
It's
how does
really
8 minutes seem an advantage to Luton and it seems disadvantage to us? What's going on here? That's what it feels
Honestly,
right now.
I was like, it's in the script that Chong is going to score, and obviously, great, it didn't happen. But why, as fans, should we feel that way when we're playing Luton Town? We're not playing City, we're not playing Arsenal. Like, why are we stressed to bottle a 1-0 lead? You know, wow, amazing at home. So it's a win's a win, and it's great going into the international break. It's obviously good for points, but we know as fans watching it, like, yeah, points are great, but on the pitch, it's just really unconvincing, and it's a tough watch. Like every game I come away from, like that was a tough watch. And that's how I felt today. Like I say, stressful last 8 minutes. I was like, I'm closing my eyes. I'm going to go in another room until the whistle goes, because it's just anything can happen. So yeah,
I hear you. And some of that is in our heads. Some of that's in our heads. Some of that is because of what's happened. And obviously, Cam's a little bit more relaxed. I don't know whether he's been having a drink this morning or smoked this morning. I don't know what he's doing over there.
I've seen where Cam's been. Man's been on beaches. You know what I mean?
Exactly. He's relaxed about this. I'm hella stressed. But you were gonna say something a moment ago, Tony.
Yeah, see, when you're playing against a team that has played 12 games this season, considered 22 goals this season with just 6 points on the table, see, you should be messing these people up. Mostly when it's a home game. It's Luton we're talking about, that at the dregs of the league. Yeah, but there's a reason. And have you guys thought, maybe just for once, that maybe there's just average players at Manchester United right now, players that can cut it. You guys have struggled against the lows of the lows. Yeah, But look in the mirror and tell yourselves the truth. The manager, he has been backed. Yeah, of course it's good, and it's the classic thing. Yeah, to blame the Glazers, but the truth be told, this manager has been backed. Who has he brought into the football club? Anthony.
Well, this is a great point. It's a great point you raise there, Tony. And I think I look at it this way: there are definitely some average football players in that team. There's no doubt about it that I want to see improved on. I think Anthony is a prime example of someone that I want to see improved upon. Let's just all agree for a moment on the same pitch. Let's just say that Rashford's average. Let's just say that Bruno's average. Let's just say that Garnacho's average, but they're still making mistakes in games. I don't see other average players make at smaller clubs. So this is where, even if you're right in that regard, players at clubs that you wouldn't even buy to replace these guys that you think are average don't make the same mistakes our guys do. And that's where I think it comes down to confidence and handling of pressure. In terms of Ten Hag being back financially, yes. The problem with Man United, and this is where there's a nuance to the blaming the Glazers. And I don't know what content creators you listen to when it comes to blaming the Glazers, but there's a nuance to it. It's not as simple as just saying, we picked a bad team today and blaming the Glazers, because that's nonsensical. Where we look at the Glazers is this. Yeah, Anthony isn't very good. Doesn't fit the style of football that the manager and the board are trying to play. So why did they sign off on him? Equally, if they're going to sign him, why didn't they get him 3 weeks earlier when he was going to cost 40 million instead of 3 weeks later where he cost 80 million? So when Man United fans moan about the Glazers, that's an isolated example of what we're now finding out is that there isn't a cohesive process between the board, the recruitment team, and the manager in terms of identifying players that fit a style of play. It's all over the place. We're then overpaying for the players that don't fit the way we're looking to play. And the people that run your club, your board, and with you guys, Edu does it along with Josh Kroenke, it's Richard Arnold along with the main Glazer. So when we blame the Glazers, it's because for the last 10 years, decisions like that have consistently been made. We will go to a manager like a Van Gaal, who plays a very different style to a Jose, and it will give Van Gaal £350 million, and they start building a squad. It starts coming together, and then they go, right, you're sacked because things went wrong. And then they go for a different style of manager and go, right, we're going to give you 350 million. The problem is, to build a Jose squad, you've got to get rid of all the people you've just bought. So you need 600, 700, 800 million because you're now starting again, and you've got to sell everybody that's now a failure. And when you repeat this process again and again, you end up with this concoction of a squad that isn't suited to any one particular style of play. You then, and there's so many layers to it. So when we blame the Glazers, it isn't about who picked the team and what's happening at training per se. It's the overall situation that has put us into this. However, You're absolutely right. Criticize the manager's decision. Some of his substitutions have been awful. I'm challenged. I didn't want Mason Mount at Man United, and I'm really challenging that signing now because he's not starting Mason Mount. But when I dig deeper into how do we stop this happening again, it's not just about the manager. The biggest mistake we make at Man United is every manager that comes in, we give him too much power. And the irony is, I don't think that's backing him. I think that's hurting them because managers, like all managers, need help. Pep speaks about it all the time. A lot of the players that are identified for him, he doesn't do the identifying. He's coaching his team. People come to him with this player would work, this player. He looks and gets involved, but he isn't scouting them all saying, I want these 3 players. Man United, we treat our managers so differently. The amount of times Klopp's been told, no, this is who you're having. And that guy's gone on to be a star. So I think there's a happy medium with it, if that makes sense. But the problem is that I'm not saying you, Tony. Rival fans just want to hear you say my players are shit, my manager's shit, because it's fun and it's where the banter is. And it's a lot more nuance. I want to go to some super chats here that have come in. First one says, Egal is less excited than Terry. Arsenal loving. Oh, I'm just in a good mood. My team won. Why do Arsenal fans think City fans hate them? We want you guys to win. You are our best bridesmaid. The only. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, only want the best for you. Sensational win. Outplayed a top team from minute 1. That is what Fraud Dada has got to say there. Thank you. Watch time make a case. Did anybody think it wasn't a red card for
I didn't.
Fabio Vieira?
So.
I think it's like a knee-high studs challenge.
That sounds like a red.
Tevin here says, my issue is, Terry, being gaslit by the independent panel. The Gabriel didn't get fouled, especially when a week later Saka's was a foul. I hate it. Exactly. Look, and I made a video about this yesterday or Friday. I can't remember. Yeah, it was yesterday, Friday. Yesterday was Friday. I'm always so busy, I forget what day of the fucking week it is. But I said it in that video. Yes, they're stating that it isn't one, but of course the independent panel, which is made up of the referees that used to work with these referees, we're going to say it wasn't a foul because there was so much media attention on it. If they admit there's a problem, it was going to engulf everything. It was going to burn the whole industry down, as in the refereeing industry down. They were going to be in big trouble. And I said it last week to everybody that defended the decision, everybody that said 100% it wasn't a foul. I said you'll see that given as a foul 100 times in the next few weeks, and we saw it go again today. There was also in the Spurs game earlier, there's a little nudge in the back when somebody was trying to run through on goal at one point in the first half, and they gave it a foul, and it was a minute little nudge, a little knock in the back, and all these things are being given as fouls. I also saw twice today in the Man United game, which I was watching on the Satanta app, and they didn't show the replays, but twice we had VAR reviews for Maguire being held by a defender. Now, they showed us no replays, so we have no idea how much he was being held, but I've got a little feeling he's going to be held just as much as Højlund held Rodri. And there's almost a point now, we spoke about the Premier League and Sky and what they do. I think they're going to, on certain things, not always show replays now, if they can help it, because if there's no replay, we can't complain because we can't fucking see it again. Does that make sense? But we know that what happened to Rodri happens every single week. So, yeah, I get why you're angry, Tevin, and don't be gaslit by the nonsense. Don't be gaslit by it at all, mate. You're bang on. Man United are still relying on Rashford, which makes your attack predictable. Midfield is weak, and your defense is the only one teams aren't marking.
I was saying because teams aren't marking on defense, you can't rely on your defense to score goals and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, I hear you. We're awful in attack. I don't think anyone's going to disagree. But I think Rashford will click back into gear at some point and start scoring goals again. So Rashford, but we need more than him. Also, Højlund's weird. Champions League, this man's a dynamite, which everyone looks at as a high standard of club football. The Premier League, it's just not happening for him. It's just not. And the one today, I don't think he did anything wrong because the ball deflected, so he had to change his body angle to get his knee to it. And the goalie did save it, but it was just, I couldn't believe it.
Everything, like, even
it's the header. That was
the header. He needs to do better on. It was close, but he needs to do better on that. There's a couple of ones where he's shielding the ball, turning to shoot. There's too many players around it. He has a job of like so many different attackers right now because you got like 3 men just fighting. Like he's fighting them off by themselves and by himself, and he's just finding it hard to find a back net in the Premier League. It's weird, man. It's upsetting.
Yeah, and hopefully, listen, if he gets that headed chance against Galatasaray, he scores. I'm telling you, in the Champions League, he gets that headed chance. He scores 110%. Bournemouth are doing all right, you know. And how did he save that, Nick Pope? You cut. How did he save that? That was a great shot. Oh,
But
my
again, yeah.
word.
But again,
Hang on a
Terry,
sec.
yeah.
Go on, mate. Go on, bruv.
Yeah, Terry, see, yeah. But again, this Rashford issue, yeah, I don't think Man United fans have really come to terms with what it really means. 35 games last season, 17 goals scored in total last season, 5 assists for Rashford. Yeah.
Mhm.
This season, 11 games played with just 1 goal scored, 1
Yeah.
assist. Oh, this season, yeah, there's a dramatic big shift. It's huge. Something has happened to Rashford. Something needs to be done. See, does it lie at the hand
Okay,
of the coach
so
as
when
the
you
manager?
hang on,
As the manager,
let me
okay, yeah.
hang on, let me stop you a second because I want to ask a question on that. So I don't want to go off tangent. When you say Rashford, something's happened to Rashford, what do you think's happened to Rashford?
I think something mentally is wrong with him, and he hasn't developed under this manager. I think the manager has a case to answer on why Rashford hasn't replicated his form last season. This
So,
season,
and that's a fair
Rashford has
point.
scored 1 goal.
And it's a fair point. It's a fair point. Rashford's the only attacker in the whole Man United squad that scored or assisted a goal in the whole of the Premier League. So I get there is a problem with Rashford, but this is what. And again, if you don't like Rashford, I'm not saying you don't. If you're someone that doesn't like Rashford, it's very easy to go, "Told you he's crap." But no one has scored a goal or assisted in a goal in 12 games in the Premier League. Rashford's the only. Rashford, if you want to be pernickety, Rashford's the top goal scorer out of all of our attackers. And you're right, there's a problem, but they are all when they all have the same problem. I find it very hard to isolate it down to the manager hasn't developed Rashford. I agree with you. I put this on the manager. I think, and I don't even think it's system per se. I think there is a breakdown of trust between this dressing room and the manager. Whether it's justified or not, I think it's a breakdown of trust because there's too many people, Varane, Casemiro as well, that have regressed so dramatically and so quickly. I don't believe they're as bad as they look. I've seen this, and the reason I say this, Tony, is because I've seen this before at Man United under different managers. This is a behavioral, you're right, it's a mental thing. It's a behavioral issue from players when things don't start going their way and they all clump together and they hurt managers. And I don't want the manager out, go, well, yeah, pick up the players. I just don't see it as recoverable. And because you've got these new part owners coming in, my personal feeling is you do get rid of the manager. You let the players know, we know what you guys did and it won't ever happen again. But that's probably the quickest way to get back to winning and get the players, because a lot of these players are much better than they're performing right now. And I just think you bring in a new manager tomorrow. If a new manager signed midweek, we'd have smashed Luton 4 or 5-0 today. I really believe that.
You know what? You can tell when Man United do bad because it's the who performs for us. When we're bad, McTominay, Maguire, Lindelof, these guys are good for some reason. But when we're actually in a form of ascendancy going up to something, maybe a new level, those are the players that are performing poorly, and the other players are shining. So it's a weird dichotomy that we've got because I'm watching this play. I'm like, why? McTominay was fine today. I've got no problem with him, but why is he starting when in the summer he wanted him sold? He scored 2 goals against Brentford late on, and ever since he's been playing.
And
that don't make no sense.
And unless you'll know, and unless he scores goals, he doesn't do anything really.
Yeah.
No, he's McGhost. I always say he's McGhost. He always gets like 6 touches on the ball, like even in the midfield. Like when he scored those 2 goals, like obviously it was like euphoria because it was 2 last-minute like goals. But I just knew that whistle went, and at the end of that game, I was like, McTominay is going to start every game for the foreseeable now, and he has like. And I am a big fan of Ten Hag, and that is one thing that I'm like, I just knew he'd do that. Like when someone is like. It's just predictable.
This is how you know he's desperate and has lost his mind. Because last season, if McTominay scores 2 goals, he don't care. His team is still playing.
He ain't playing it. No, you're right.
Maguire's come in, saved him again against Copenhagen. Yeah. Granted, it's more injury reasons why Maguire is playing, but at the same time, he could drop him. You could play Varane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Ten Hag I'm not Ten Hag. By the way, I criticize him a lot. I'm not Ten Hag out. I'm Ten Hag. Fix this, because in your bold head, is a brain that works. That I know it works. I've seen it. So I just want to shake him.
I hear you on that. This here says that if Vieira landed the tackle and snapped his leg, we agree that's a red. Are we saying that it's still a red when he wasn't touched? Make it make sense. Well, I think there was a touch. I think he clipped him. I've only seen one replay, so I'd have to rewatch it again. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to break the leg for it to be a red card if it can do it. I mean, I'm not too sure if the rules work the same. I have to read them. But if you throw a punch at someone and miss, you still get sent off. You know, whether you land it or not. If you put a tackle in, there's a leg breaker and you just miss or you just clip them. That's why they've said that Kai Havertz's tackle, they didn't look at it up close in the super slow-mo because the front leg did actually catch the leg. If they'd have seen that, they'd have sent him off. So I think that's the law, but I'd have to read it again to be sure. Havertz is similar to Ozil where he's not similar to Ozil in any capacity. But anyway, he says that Ozil where his running style makes him seem like he isn't working hard. But Ozil was dictating at his best. Ozil was dictating. Burnley, Bournemouth just missed again. At his best, he was dictating play, creating chances at the highest level of the game at World Cups. So yes, he can sometimes look a little bit nonchalant. But Ozil could get away with that because he would still go boom, boom, boom. There's a chance. There's a chance. There's a chance. So I get where you're coming from. Berbatov was looked at as someone like him. But he scored and did a lot. A big up, Tell. You and Mark Goldbridge equal goats. Fair analysis. Thank you, Pete. I appreciate that. We won, and as a bonus, 6 points ahead of Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea got to win tomorrow because they keep coming for us. And we could be. I know they keep coming. Where are all the Sputter fans today? Yeah, they're not here. They're not here. Koppenheimer is said, Terry, are you saying Rashford is not listening to Ten Hag or Rashford is not good enough to manage him? Which one is it? Well, I don't think it's as polarized or as simplistic as that. I don't think we should talk about this like we're 10 years old at school, my bro. It's not that he's just not listening to him. I don't know what it's about because I'm not in there, but there's something. And it could be somewhere along the lines of this is how we're going to play this year. And the players think, we think that's going to expose us, boss. We don't think that's going to work. We think it's going to cause issues. Maybe they're looking at the way Casemiro's getting run past in games and the defense is sitting there going, boss, this weren't happening last year. Why have you changed it? And maybe he's told them, it could be something. It could start off with a conversation like that. The manager doesn't handle it very well. They didn't see a few players being mistreated. And there ain't a feel-good factor. And then you start losing games. Then the pressure comes on. And it's a big build-up. I don't think they're just walking around the training ground, ignoring the manager and not talking to him. And I do think Ten Hag's good enough to turn it around. But pride comes before the fall sometimes. Luton were utterly abysmal. Could barely pass. That's because we were so good. Arsenal's problem is chance creation. We are going to bring Tony in to finish the chances we aren't creating. Shouldn't a midfield be a priority again?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Tony?
Yeah, I agree with that disposition. Last season, our biggest creative director, of course, Martin Odegaard, scored 15 goals last season for us, with I think about 7 assists, if I'm correct. With my start, it never fails me. We lost him. Nowhere to be found again today. And since this guy left, of course, definitely we have that hole gaping. No one has taken that mantle to create for this team. No one, absolutely no one. Fabio Vieira just came into the game and got himself sent off. Who else can come in? Emile Smith-Rowe. Injury worries all true. So we have a systematic problem, and it deals with our recruitment. And again, that comes back to that question: why did we go to spend £65 million on a player that we didn't need in the first place? A player, at least because we do need a creative player right now. Why spending that money on someone who can create and who can score? So we have a big problem.
I think you have got a problem there. What I will say about it is this, and maybe it's because of the situation you're in. You haven't won any major like leagues or Champions Leagues ever, leagues for 20 years. But most managers will buy players who don't quite work. But with Arsenal fans, it seems to be with it depends. I suppose I'll use your word, your disposition on Arteta. Depends on how you feel about him. It's almost like with this one signing don't work, you're dead to me. And I find it just really interesting. I don't know the answers to this. I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I'd love a psychologist to break it down, because certain clubs, and it isn't just the ones that win. It's like, oh yeah, he bought a dud there, he wasted money on him, but I love my manager, he'll get it right next time. Where with some Arsenal fans, it's like every signing the manager makes, if this doesn't become the new Henry, I'm being a little bit facetious here, fuck you can go. I just find it really interesting watching it. Yeah, I think he's a dud as well, but this is what I would, if you trust the manager, it should just be, we'll just give him another 65 million to buy someone else then. I just, because that just makes more sense to me. But
Also, some certain in some incendiary part of our fan base, I don't think they trust this manager to handle a single cent of their money again. He has managed to bring in Kai Havertz, yeah. He's managed to bring in Jorginho, who's past his best from Chelsea Football Club. He brought in Fabio Vieira. He hasn't hit the ground running. He brought in David Raya on loan, who's looked shaky this season. Also, if you tell yourself the truth, you're an Arsenal fan. See, the signings that have been putting up this season for us are Unai Emery signings, yeah. Former manager players. You know,
but why is that? Let me ask you a really quick question, because I've got in the show soon, Tony. Why is that a problem? So I hear things like the trophy you won was with Unai Emery's team. Like that's praise for Unai Emery, who couldn't win with that team. I then sort of hear, oh, this player's playing well, but he was signed by somebody else, so therefore I can't credit the manager. But then in the same breath, I hear you turn around and criticize Ten Hag for not improving Rashford, but Rashford wasn't signing either. So this is, and I'm not even going to go at you. I sometimes feel when you deal with something subjectively and you're in your emotions about how you feel about a manager, you will criticize elements of their either what they're doing well or what they're doing good. So for me, that's talking at both sides of your mouths. If you're gonna not have a go, but if you're not gonna credit Arteta for improving Martinelli because he was an Emery signing, you can't criticize Ten Hag for Rashford not getting better. Those two things have to coexist in the same multiverse, surely.
Surely, no, I get that argument, but again, what breaks this whole thing? Yeah, what breaks the yoke for me is last season Arsenal challenging for the title last season. That changes the whole atmosphere of everything. Yeah,
why?
We went head to head with the champions last season. That tells you that
but what does
Mikel
it change?
Arteta at least.
Again, Solskjaer finished second in the league.
At least it's changed something.
But change what though? But I get that. But change what specificity? What change what?
Arsenal haven't challenged for the title for the past,
right.
Let's say.
No, I understand that. But what's challenging last year? What's that changed in you in terms of your perspective? What's it changed?
Probably, maybe he's changed the culture. Yeah, he's a more less boss. I just think he needs to recruit in the right places. Get us a striker. He's a very stubborn manager. You need to understand.
I agree.
He's a very
stubborn, and
he's a very stubborn manager. Go get us a prolific striker.
Tony, I get you. Tony, I just want to interject. I want to say this. You're right. He has to recruit the right people. But that's the same logic. Every manager has to recruit the right players. It's almost like a prerequisite that you would say your job is to try and recruit the right people. And I think he's made a mistake with Kai Havertz. But what I don't, again, if you don't rate Arteta and you don't think he can get you to the promised land, then it makes sense to say that's it. It's the final straw. Get rid of him. But for people that back the manager and think he's good enough, their reaction to the Kai Havertz sign-in, I find over the top because it's very much baby out with the bathwater. Where it's just a mistake. Pep Guardiola has signed a lot of duds at City. But the difference is he's allowed to replace him quickly and the fans are behind him and he's gone on to be successful. Now, if you're bored, turn around and say, well, you've got to keep Kai now for at least 3 years. We're not going to give you any money to replace him. We're not going to let you sell him at a loss. You know, when you said earlier, you can't blame the Glazers. That's where it would go away from being an Arteta problem and become a Kroenke problem. Because if the Kroenke don't let that mistake get rectified quickly, publicly, it will look, he's just stubborn. He's stuck with him for 3 years. If he's being told he can't replace him, most managers would get rid of a dud very quickly if their owners allowed them to, because all they want to do is win football matches. So I just think there's got to be a happy medium there. But look, guys, it's a great conversation, Tony. I really enjoyed that. Hannah, Tony, Cam, KJ, of course, other boys, Souls and Egal have already gone. I want to thank you, my super chatters, my members, everyone who's hit the like button. You're amazing. And everyone who's tuned into the terrace today, big thank you to all of you. Back tomorrow with Fan Channel Review, Liverpool match reaction, and of course the big one, Chelsea versus Manchester City. Until next time, everybody, look after yourselves. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.